All right, gang, let's work on our worksheet for 1.4, 1.5. We're going to be talking about angle relationships, and we're going to be using algebra to solve these problems. The first question on this page, page 1 that we're going to be working on, asks us to use cubics to complete the following problem. So just remember, let's go through a little review of what cubics is. Cubics is when we circle the numbers, we underline the question, we box the important geometry words, and then we draw an image, we explain, and then we solve our problem. So for question number 1 here, we're going to read these directions that we have right here. All of this is where we're going to be using our cubic strategy. It asks us to identify what kind of angle relationship angle ABD and angle DBC have, and that answer would be supplementary, complementary, linear pair, or none. Then we need to find x and the measure of ABD and the measure of angle DBC, and they would like us to show our work. So again, let's start with circling the numbers that are important for us. And in the actual problem, there are no numbers, but when we get to our question number 1, the numbers actually come into play right here. So those are our 2 numbers that we have. We need to underline the question or what they're asking us to do. They want us to find x and the measure of ABD and the measure of DBC. Then we're going to box the important geometry words, and those words would be supplementary, complementary, linear pair. Those are all the things that we're going to use to apply to our picture. And so now let's go down and look at what we have. So for question number 1, they talk about angle ABD, which is on the left, and then they talk about angle DBC, which is on the right. And the one thing I notice in this picture is that we have this line that goes all the way across. And when I think about lines, I think that those are supposed to add up to 180 degrees. And so I notice that I have this angle on the left, and I have this angle on the right, and I have this total of 180. That makes these 2 angles a linear pair. And I know that all linear pairs are always supplementary. So we answer both of those words for this diagram, and then we're going to set up a picture, an equation. And our equation is 4x plus 6, where we add the left part, plus 11x minus 6, where we add the right part, and we equal it to 180 degrees. Now it would be okay to do a little mental math here. And if we did the 4x and the 11x and added those together, that would make 15x, which is just those guys. And then we do plus 6 and minus 6, and that makes 0, which are just those guys, equals 180. Then I minus the 0 out of there, which doesn't do anything. And I have 15x equals 180. And then I divide by 15 on both sides. And I get my calculator out, and I find out that x equals 12. And up in the directions, it did say that I am supposed to find out what x is. So there's part of my answer. But I also need the measure of angle ABD, and I have that blank right here, and DBC, and I have that blank right there. So we have to go back to the picture. ABD is on the left. So we're going to take this x value and plug it in right here on the left. And we're also going to look at DBC. DBC is on the right. So I'm going to take this x value that we have right here, and I'm also going to plug it in on the right. So I'm going to do 4 times 12 plus 6 for the left, and I'm going to do 11 times 6 minus 6 on the right. Let's see, my first calculation here on the right, I have 66 minus 6, which gives me 60. And on the right, I have 4 times 12, which is 48, plus 6, which is 54. And when I look at those two numbers, I know that they don't add up to 180, which seems to be weird. And so I realize that I've made a mistake on this side. I'm not plugging in 6. I should be plugging in 12 right there. 11 times 12 minus 6 gives me 126. That's better. So the measure of angle ABD is 54 degrees. That's this guy up here. And the measure of DBC is 126 degrees. And that's this guy right here. And if I think about that, when I add those together, that does equal 180, which is what my total is. So that seems pretty good. I'm going to let you guys pause the video right there and try questions 2 and 3. And I will catch up with you on page 2 if you need some more help.